Unfortunately, I'm a poor college student and couldn't afford to make my Teen Titans cosplay yet, but hopefully next year I'm going to be doing this again and I will be Raven, so hopefully cross your fingers. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started because I have quite a bit to go through. We're going to be talking about the characters and about the series, and I'm comparing a lot to the comics that this is actually based off of, as well as the comics they based off of this show. So it can be a bit confusing, I'll try and elaborate. And I'm going to take this for now. So, okay, we're going to start. So, how many of you guys have seen almost most of the show, some of the episodes? Yay, so we're all somewhat familiar with it. It actually aired on Cartoon Network in 2003. They made 5 seasons, 66 episodes, and they made Trouble in Tokyo in 2006 and aired it as well. I was watching the commentary on one of the discs because I bought it just because I wanted to and decided to do this. In the commentary, they quote as having made Mercanime, which is American cartoon with a touch of Japanese, which is how we have the Teen Titans we know and love. And they are one of the few shows nowadays to have a theme song, because many of them got rid of them. Their theme song is sung by Kageyama Yui, which is a Japanese duo. This show is based off the DC comics called The New Teen Titans from the 80s. Just a few random facts about the series. They created some of the characters like Raven, Cyborg, Starfire. Beast Boy already existed, but he was called the Changeling, so they changed his name to make it more child-friendly. This series focuses a lot more on the characters, which makes them really relatable, and they made the villains important to the characters connected to make it really whole. They have this thing, well, they call some of the animation they use is called super deformed or super D. It's when they get really deformed or squished or they're like really expressive, you know, with the big heads and like poses. But that's what they call that animation. And actually, I didn't know this, but they translated this into several different languages, including Korean, of all things. I was amazed. I don't want you guys sitting here listening to me talk, so I'm going to ask you questions and see if you can guess the right answers. This is about the characters. So which male character actually has his real name spoken in the series?
Beast Boy.
Yes. Do you remember what his name is?
Robert?
No, but I'll go. Okay. Well, there's 2 people that can do this. Which 2 can speak more than one Earth language? And there's another one. Does anybody know? Want to guess? Anybody want to guess? Anybody? Yes, you are right. It's Raven and Starfire. Starfire speaks English and Japanese, and Raven speaks a lot, but we'll get to that when we get to her character. Which member was actually a member of an acrobatic show?
Robin.
Yes, he was. And which member can eat non-conventional food? Like, I'm not talking about like Korean food or our food. I'm talking about like tables and chairs food. Anybody want to guess? No, I guess you probably could, but I'm just talking about like eating this. Anybody? Yes. Yay! Okay, so Robin, his voice actor is Scott Menville. He's a bald guy who's very, very nice to look at. And I love his voice. He's one of my favorite voice actors from the series. His real name is Dick Grayson. There are several versions of Robin. Some people say that he's Tim Drake because of how his outfit is styled, but in reality it is Dick Grayson because he loves Starfire. He becomes Nightwing in one of the episodes when Starfire goes to the future, and he's the only one to actually swear an oath in front of Batman to become Robin. I'll let you guys read this stuff while I continue talking about him. He was actually part of an acrobatic act with his family in a circus, but his parents died because of a gang boss or a gang member. So Batman offered to help him give back, kind of as a sort of revenge. So that's how he became his apprentice, and then went to Jump City to kind of break away and do his own thing because he felt that Batman was treating him like a child. This is my favorite character. So this is Starfire. I know you guys probably know this, but I'm going over some other things too from the comics, so bear with me if you already know most of this. Her voice actor's name is Hayden Walsh. Her real name is Coriander, and her native language of Tamaranian. Most of us already know this, but she loves mustard, which is why I put that picture up there, because it's one of the cutest pictures of her. She also has a long purple tongue and 9 stomachs, which, and if you remember the episode Mother May I, is how she's able to eat the pies and not get affected when she snaps out of it. She has accelerated healing. When she first arrives to Earth, she crashes to the ground and breaks free and fights Robin. He throws her into a car, and she gets back up and cracks her neck and is fine afterwards. She's the most social member of the Titans, and she speaks without contractions. I kind of learned that out. Like, you don't really notice it when she's talking, but when you sit there, it's like, oh yeah, she doesn't.
She also absorbs languages by kissing people.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention that, but yeah, she does. I highly enjoy that aspect, especially when she first falls to Earth and kisses Robin, because Cyborg is like, well, we know what he enjoys. Beast Boy, his voice actor is named Greg Sipes. His real name is Garfield Logan. His parents were scientists, and they traveled a lot into the jungles, like in Africa and wherever. And they were looking for a rare green monkey because they were really, really interested in it. And that monkey actually they found, and it bit Beast Boy, and he contracted a very dangerous illness called Sakutia. And his parents tried to cure him with a serum they concocted, which gave him his powers to change. And because he has that serum, he turned green. And later, his parents actually died in a boat accident, and he feels very, very guilty about it. But one random thing that I didn't notice is that he's skilled in origami, of all things, with Beast Boy. I can't imagine him sitting there folding paper, but I guess everybody has a hobby.
Speed origami.
Yeah, I could see him doing that, especially if he's like a squirrel or something. Like, I can just imagine him in little animal forms doing these, making them. And actually, I did watch a commentary too, and they said that when he's in animal form, he doesn't talk, whereas in the comics, they have him talking, which they wanted it to make it more almost fun in a way. So if you ever pay attention when he's like a cat, he's always meowing. He doesn't actually talk. Raven. Tara Strong is her voice actress. She actually doesn't have a real name, but she picks an alias, which is Rachel Roth. She's the one that can speak multiple languages too. She speaks English, German, Latin, Romanian, Ancient Sumerian, and Sanskrit. She was taught by Azar, the spiritual leader of the Temple of Azarath, and she fled to Earth when she was 14 because she could begin to sense Trigon's power, so she wanted to escape from that. And she is very, very in control of her soul self, which is, if you see her coming out of nowhere in this black form, that's what that is. So she comes out of that. She has to keep her emotions in check in order to control that. This lovely picture in the bottom corner is White Raven. We don't see her very much. We only see her 4 times. That's her most pure form of all. And Cyborg makes her smile the most. When she does smile in the series, it's like twice, and it's usually having to do with him. And her birthday is the only one ever mentioned in the series. Speaking of Cyborg, here he is. His voice actor is Carrie Payton. His real name is Victor Stone in the comics, the DC comics. In this series, he got in an accident with his mom, and he was severely injured and shunned because of all the mechanical parts he now had. Later on in the Teen Titans Go comics, which they're coming out with based on the show, he fell in love with a girl named Sarah Sims, who's a teaching volunteer. In the show, he falls in love with a woman named Sarah Sim, who's from 5,000 years ago, and he fights with her. In the DC comics, is completely different with his origins. He actually is, he gets part of his body dissolved by an alien, which kills his mom, and he is turned into a cyborg by his dad. And if you ever notice in the series, sometimes he struggles with lifting weights, like he has a hard time lifting like 500 pounds. Then you'll see him lift a building, like a building weighing a ton. So his strength can vary from here and there. And we all have to talk about Tara. Okay, before I offend anybody, does anybody actually somewhat like Tara? I'm not judging, I'm just asking. Okay, I will be nice. I kind of like her, I understand where she's coming from, but everybody bashes her, and I'll try not to. So if I do start bashing her, please tell me. Okay. So her voice actor is named Ashley Johnson. In the end, of course, we all see her turning to stone to stop Slade in the erupting volcano she created. In the Teen Titans Go comics, she's actually the princess of Markovia. She has a brother named G-Force, and both of them were experimented on by the general in the Brotherhood of Evil. And that's where she gets her Earth-based powers from. In the comics also, I find this very disturbing to me, but she has a sexual relationship with Slade instead of being father-daughter as they have it in the series. I will take this over that. That is just me. We don't know actually what happened to her. We just know that after Trigon's attack that she's no longer there in stone form. So many of the theories are that when that happened, everybody got returned to normal, and Tara is included in that. But we also see her at the end of the series, like, what happened to her? Is she the schoolgirl? Is she not? That's up for debate. They never really clarify. I just want to point out one really curious thing. Her hair. If you ever pay attention to how her hair is parted, it kind of gives away her affiliation. In the beginning, it's parted to the side, so she has a side, she knows what side she's on. When she starts to get in with Slade, it's hanging in her face, obscuring her face, much like Slade's mask, and it's also because she has a hard time sensing right and wrong at that point. And when she fights back against Slade, her hair is back to away from her face, because now she sees. And then in the end, when she's a schoolgirl, it's centered in the middle. So she's living more of a neutral life. I'm sorry, I can't talk today. And these are all of the Titans. Can anybody name actually all of them? Because I know I couldn't get first. Yeah, there are a lot of them. But I'm not going to show each individual picture, because that would be a really long panel. But I will leave this going while I talk about some of the other characters. So there's Teen Titans East, which we see in this series is formed. That's in Steel City, made up of Bumblebee, Speedy, Aqualad, and Masi Minos. And they created 2 more towers in the comics. There's one in the north, which is either in northern USA or Canada, or maybe even Chicago, of Red Star, Argent, Cole, and Gnark. They have a south tower as well in Florida or Mexico with Pantha, Wildebeest, and Hotspot. Anybody else left in this picture is an honorary Titan. They're not put in a tower. And actually, let me go over here. This is Wonder Girl. I couldn't figure out who that was. She isn't actually named in the series because they didn't have the license to do so, but she does make a cameo in a couple of the episodes. One of the main ones being when Robin is talking on the communicator to all the different teams, you see her face. So I just thought that was curious because I didn't remember. Villains. There are lots of them in the series. This is a long picture. Like, it shows all the villains in the series. This is only half, if that gives you an idea. With the villains in this series, the creators tried to make them have a personal connection to the heroes. Like Slade has a personal connection. Thunder and Lightning, they make one with Beast Boy. They tried to make that because they wanted it to be impactful as well as relatable. And actually, it's more universal that way, so people in other languages can say, hey, this guy's related to this guy, even though they're on opposite sides. Because you're going to have that, like, Cloud, since you're right here, I'm going to pick on you. Like, you and Sephiroth, translated into English, you guys are still enemies, either way. You know that. So I'm sorry.
To me. He never leaves me alone.
I'm sorry. I can't help that. Alright, I'm going to talk a little bit about the villains, not a whole lot, because I'll talk about them more when I get to the plot line. But Slade, his real name is Slade Wilson, which is where he gets his name. In the comics, his name is Deathstroke. They did not want that in a child series, so they took his first name. He's a parental villain, so he kind of takes on that role of a parent, which is kind of what angers Robin, as well as him trying to be controlling like a parent. Hive Academy and Brother Blood. On the bottom picture, it's kind of hard to see all of them, but it's Seymour, Mammoth, Jinx, Kid Wicked, and Billy Numerous. Originally, it's just Jinx, Gizmo, and Mammoth, but it grows. And then Jinx leaves because of Kid Flash. And Brother Blood, I'm not going to go into him right now either. And Trigon, the lovely Satan-like demon in the series, with the connection to Raven, as he is her father. And you only see him really a couple times in the series. The one time you see him without horns in that picture right there, it's not actually Trigon, it's Raven's Rage, and it comes through in the form of him, so that's why you don't see him with horns in that picture. Brotherhood of Evil, I'm sorry, these pictures are really, really blurry and whatnot, but you couldn't hardly find any on the internet. This is Miss Yomala, the Brain, Madame Rouge, and the General. I think his name is Immortalis. I'm sorry, I can't say his name right. Thank you. Somebody can pronounce it. There's a lot of villains, and I barely touch on them, so this is a few of them that most people would remember. There are a lot more, and I did not want to fill up 5 pages worth of villains, because we don't really talk about any of them.